Hi, I'm Katie Campbell, and this is my Geography 356 mapping project. So the purpose of this project was to evaluate and compare location quotients between two variables, and the variables I chose were the amount of required vaccinations per country in the European Union, and then also within those countries, the infant mortality rates of the children 12 months and younger, and this was per 1,000 births. A location quotient is a way of quantifying how concentrated a particular phenomenon is in a region compared to the nation, so looking at this phenomenon in a country compared to the rest of the continent. So the question I asked was, is there a correlation between the number of vaccinations required and the infant mortality rates in the European Union? And my hypothesis states that I do believe there will be a correlation between these two variables, showing that infant mortality rate will be linear and it's also dependent upon how many vaccinations are required at birth. But from there, I question whether it would be a positive correlation or a negative correlation, because it could be either. With a positive correlation, it would be more so that with more required vaccinations at birth would bring a higher infant mortality rate, kind of saying that maybe these vaccinations aren't the healthiest for these babies and are maybe killing them. And then with a negative correlation, you will see that with higher vaccinations required brings a lower infant mortality rate, so it's more so that these vaccinations are helping to keep these infants safe and healthy and letting them to live a longer life. So taking a look at my first map, you see it's the required vaccinations. Looking at it, there's really not much of a pattern anywhere. Throughout the continent, it's just kind of scattered everywhere. We've got the lowest ones up here next to even like the highest amounts required, and it's all over the board like that. So it doesn't really matter what part of the continent you're in. It just kind of varies throughout the countries and what they think is best for their culture. So taking a look at the data, you see that the lowest countries are Hungary, Denmark, and Slovakia, and these are all found in East and Northern Europe, like you could see before on the map over here and up here. And then those hold between 6 and 7 required vaccinations per country, and that the highest countries were Latvia, Austria, and Germany, and those are found in West and Northeastern Europe, so kind of intermingling with the lowest ones, mixing in there. And those range from 15 to 13 required vaccinations at birth. So looking at the infant mortality rate map, you kind of see more of a pattern in this one, and that it kind of just goes lower up here, and then it gradually gets larger, and then larger once you head more south, and like when you're down here over in kind of like the southeastern part of Europe, it's the highest infant mortality rate, but then you see right next to it, it's back to lower. So I don't think there's really much in relation to necessarily exactly where they are. Obviously, you can look at the regions and see that they're very similar to the ones that they're close by, but also it goes from right here in this southeastern part from high to low super quick, so it all kind of depends. You'll see with this that the lowest countries for the infant mortality rates are Slovenia, Finland, and Sweden, and those are found in Northern and Southern Europe. And that the highest are Romania, Bulgaria, and Slovakia, and those are all found in Southern Europe. Looking at these numbers, you do have to remember that these are per 1,000 births and not 0.48 deaths per year. So obviously, that doesn't make sense. You can't have half a kid die. So this would be like saying almost 5 children die per 1,000 that are born in Slovenia each year. Or looking at the higher ones in Romania, it would be 87 of the 1,000 had died in that country that year, which is very sad. Looking at them side by side, you can look at the averages. So the average vaccination throughout Europe is required about 9.5 throughout the entire continent. And so just like before, it's just scattered all over. This is the same map as before, so nothing's changed. So like I said, it doesn't matter where you are located on the map. It just varies throughout what your country thinks is best for you. And then with infant mortality, the average is 3.5. And as you can see, the higher up you go, the lower the infant mortality, and you're more below the average rate. And then the more south you go, it kind of rises up a little bit, just like before. More southeast, I guess I should say, because that's these over here are the highest, or the above average ones. So looking at this on a scatter plot graph, you do kind of see a small correlation with them, and it tends to go in a negative slope between the infant mortality and the vaccinations. So in conclusion, I did find that there was a slight negative correlation between these two variables, meaning that the more vaccinations required at birth tended to create more of a lower infant mortality rate, which is good. Reasons to this is because the vaccinations stop the infants from contracting the diseases that their bodies are not yet strong enough to fight. Therefore, this allows them to hopefully live a long and full life. Other variables that could affect this is a higher quality of living in certain areas. So with that, where they live could be cleaner, and they could have access to cleaner water and cleaner foods, and maybe not be surrounded by all the diseases. And then another one could be access to more medical resources, which also comes with living in a higher quality of living country. But also, if you do contract these diseases, not necessarily just living in a clean area, but if you do contract a deadly disease, you have the medical resources to get treated for them, therefore allowing you to get better and live longer. And then with my works cited, this is where I found my vaccinations required per country. The end. Thank you for watching.